A human kissed a 990-year-old alien princess statue. She smiled and whispered. A secret back part 1. Danny Cotter pushed his cleaning cart through the long halls of the museum. The wheels made a soft sound on the smooth floor. Around him, the walls held objects from 100 dead worlds. Broken weapons, faded clothes, strange machines that no one understood anymore. He had worked here for 6 months now. Earth had sent him as part of a cultural exchange program. The aliens called it an honor. Danny called it a lonely job in a cold building on a moon far from home. The museum sat on Volanthos, a small moon that orbited a gas giant. The Galactic Preservation Council ran this place. They collected things from civilizations that had died out. They studied them. They displayed them. They never let anyone touch them. Danny was 28 years old. He had brown hair and tired eyes. Back on Earth, he had worked in a factory. He fixed machines. He was good with his hands. That was why they picked him for this job. Someone needed to maintain the cleaning systems. And humans were cheap labor in the galactic economy. The other workers here were aliens of many kinds. Most of them ignored Danny. To them, humans were a young species, primitive, not worth their time. Danny had learned to keep his head down and do his work. Tonight, he was cleaning the East Wing. This section had been closed for repairs after an earthquake 2 weeks ago. Danny was supposed to check the floors and walls for damage. He moved slowly through the dark halls. His flashlight cut through the shadows. The displays here were older than the ones in the main building. Dust covered the glass cases. No one had visited this section in years. Danny stopped when he saw the crack in the wall. It was a big crack, running from the floor to the ceiling. The earthquake must have caused it. But as Danny looked closer, he saw something strange. The crack was not just damage. It was an opening. Behind the broken wall, there was a hidden room. Danny knew he should report this. He should call his supervisor and let the experts handle it. That was the rule. But something pulled him forward. A feeling he could not explain. His heart beat faster as he stepped through the crack. The hidden room was small and round. The walls were made of smooth black stone. In the center of the room stood a statue. Danny forgot to breathe. The statue was a woman. She was tall and slender, with long hair that flowed down her back. Her skin was made of clear crystal that caught the light from his flashlight and threw rainbows across the walls. She wore a long dress with patterns that looked like stars. On her head sat a thin crown. Her face was beautiful and sad. Her eyes looked forward as if she was watching something far away. Her hand was raised, reaching out toward nothing. Toward someone who was not there anymore. Danny walked closer. He read the small sign at the base of the statue. Princess Serena, last heir of the Volanthi throne. Preserved in crystal at the moment of the Great Silence. Age at preservation. Approximately 23 standard years. The Volanthi. Danny knew that name. Everyone in the galaxy knew it. They had been the most advanced civilization in history. Their technology was still beyond anything the modern galaxy could build. And then, exactly 990 years ago, they had vanished. Every single one of them. No war, no plague, no warning. They were simply gone. Only their statues remained. Crystal figures found on a dozen worlds. Scientists said the Volanthi had some way of turning their bodies to crystal. No one knew why. No one knew how. Danny stared at the princess. She looked so real, so alive. He could almost see her chest moving as she breathed. He could almost hear her voice calling out. He reached toward her without thinking. His fingers touched her hand. The crystal was warm. Danny pulled back in shock. Crystal was not supposed to be warm. All the other Volanthi statues in the museum were cold as ice. He had cleaned around them many times. But this one felt like living skin. He touched her again. Yes, warm. And he felt something else too. A vibration, like a heartbeat too slow to count. Danny looked at her face. The sadness there broke something inside him. She had been standing here alone for almost 1,000 years, hidden behind a wall, forgotten by everyone. "I see you," Danny said softly. "I do not know if you can hear me, but you are not alone. Not anymore." The statue did not move. Of course it did not move. It was just crystal, just stone. Danny shook his head at his own foolishness. He was talking to a statue, like a crazy person. He heard footsteps in the hall outside. Danny turned off his flashlight and pressed himself against the wall. His heart pounded. If someone found him here, in a hidden room touching ancient artifacts, he would lose his job. They might even send him to prison. The footsteps passed by. A security guard on patrol. Danny waited until the sound faded completely. Then he slipped out of the hidden room and back into the hall. He looked at the crack in the wall. He should report it. He should tell someone about the room and the statue inside. But he did not. Instead, Danny finished his cleaning route. He filed his report. He went back to his small room in the workers' building. He lay down on his bed and stared at the ceiling. That night, he dreamed of a woman with crystal skin walking through burning cities. She cried out in a language he did not understand. She reached for people who could not see her. She begged for help that never came. And then she turned and looked directly at Danny. "Find me," she said. "Please. Find me before it is too late." Danny woke up with her name on his lips. Serina. He knew he would go back to the hidden room. He knew he would see her again. Something had started tonight. Something he did not understand, but he was not afraid. He was ready. A human kissed a 990-year-old alien princess statue. She smiled and whispered a secret back part. Danny returned to the hidden room every night for 2 weeks. He would wait until the other workers went to sleep. Then he would slip through the quiet halls, past the sleeping guards, and through the crack in the wall. He would sit on the cold floor and look at Princess Serena for hours. The dreams came every time he slept now. They showed him things he could not understand. Burning cities. Silent ships floating dead in space. And always, the princess reaching out with tears on her crystal face. During the day, Danny researched everything he could find about the Volanthi. He read old books in the museum library. He searched through computer records. He talked to scholars who studied the ancient civilization. Most of what he found was useless. Theories and guesses. Nobody really knew what happened to the Volanthi. They were here, and then they were not. But Danny found one story that made his blood run cold. It was an old legend, dismissed by most scientists as a fairy tale. The legend said that the Volanthi had a special gift. In moments of terrible fear or sadness, they could push their minds into crystal. Their bodies would become stone, but their consciousness would stay alive inside, sleeping, waiting. The legend also said that only a specific type of touch could wake them. A touch with the right energy. The right feeling. Danny thought about the warmth he felt when he touched Serena's hand. He thought about the vibration like a slow heartbeat. What if the legend was true? He also found something else in his research. A small note in an old medical file about human biology. Humans, it said, produced a unique bioelectric frequency. Something left over from ancient evolution on Earth. No other known species in the galaxy had this exact frequency. Danny did not understand all the science, but he understood enough. Humans were different. Humans might be the key. On the 15th night, Danny sat in the hidden room as usual. He looked at Serena's face, at the sadness in her frozen eyes, at the hand reaching for help that never came. He thought about 990 years, almost 1,000 years of standing alone in the dark, waiting for someone, anyone. His heart hurt. He stood up slowly. He walked toward the statue. His hand shook as he reached out. "I do not know if you can hear me," he said. "I do not know if any of this is real. But if you are in there, if you are waiting, I want you to know something." He took a deep breath. "You are not alone. I am here. I see you. And I am not going to leave you." Danny leaned forward. Very gently, very softly, he kissed her forehead. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal began to glow. Light spread across Serena's body like cracks in ice. Golden light, warm and bright. Danny stepped back in shock as the glow grew stronger. The whole room filled with shining warmth. The crystal moved. Serena's eyes opened. They were beautiful, deep blue like an ocean under a clear sky. They focused on Danny with wonder and disbelief. Her mouth moved. The crystal lips cracked and softened. Color spread across her face like sunrise spreading across a dark world. She smiled. A tear rolled down her cheek. Leaving a trail of gold. She leaned forward, her movement slow and careful. Her mouth came close to Danny's ear. He could feel warmth from her breath. Real breath. Living breath. "You are the first to hear me in 990 years, she whispered. Her voice was like music, soft and clear. "I know how to save your kind from what destroyed mine. But we have very little time." Danny's mind raced with 1,000 questions. But before he could speak, alarms started screaming throughout the museum. Red lights flashed. Security doors slammed shut. Voices shouted in the distance. Serena's form flickered. The golden light faded. She was becoming crystal again. "They've detected the energy," she said quickly. "They will come. They will try to take me. You must protect the knowledge, Danny Carter. You must protect the truth." "How do you know my name?" Danny asked. She smiled sadly. "I have watched you every night. I have heard every word you spoke. You are the one I have been waiting for." Her eyes closed. Her skin hardened back to crystal. In seconds, she was a statue again. But she was different now. Her face was no longer frozen in sadness. A small smile curved her lips. The hand that had reached for nothing now seemed to reach for Danny. The door to the hidden room exploded. Inward, guards rushed in with weapons raised. Behind them came officials in formal clothes. Council members, scientists, all staring at Danny with shock and anger. "What have you done?" shouted one of the officials. "What have you done to the artifact?" Danny stood between them and Serena. He did not have a weapon. He did not have power. He was just a human cleaning worker on a moon far from home. But he had made a promise. He was not going to let them hurt her. "I woke her up," Danny said. His voice was calm and clear. "And she has something to tell us. Something we all need to hear." The guards aimed their weapons at his chest. Danny did not move. He thought about Serena's words. About saving his kind. About very little time. Whatever was coming, it had already begun. And Danny was right in the middle of it. A human kissed a 990-year-old alien princess statue. She smiled and whispered a secret. Back part 3, they did not shoot Danny. Instead, they locked him in a small room with white walls and a metal door. They asked him questions for hours. The same questions, again and again. What did you do? How did you make the statue glow? What technology did you use? Danny told them the truth. He kissed her. That was all. Just a kiss. They did not believe him. 3 days passed. Danny sat alone in his cell. He thought about Serena. Was she still standing in that hidden room? Were they hurting her, trying to force her to wake again? On the 4th day, the door opened. A tall alien with gray skin and 4 eyes walked in. He wore the robes of a council scientist. "The princess has asked for you," he said. His voice was cold. "We do not understand how, but she communicates with us in short bursts. She will only speak fully when you are present. Danny followed the scientist through long halls. They passed guards at every door. Finally, they reached a large room filled with machines and screens. In the center, protected by a glass wall, stood Serena. She was still mostly crystal, but her eyes were open, glowing faintly with blue light. When she saw Danny, she smiled. "Danny Carter," she said. Her voice came from speakers around the room. "Thank you for coming. Are you okay?" Danny asked. "Are they hurting you?" "No. They are scared. Scared things act badly, but they have not harmed me." She looked at the scientists and officials gathered around. "I will now tell you what you need to know. Please listen carefully. There is not much time." The room went silent. Serena closed her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice was heavy with old pain. "My people were not destroyed by war. We were not killed by disease or accident. We were harvested." Gasps filled the room. "There is an entity that lives between dimensions. We called it the Hollow. It feeds on civilizations. When a species reaches a certain level of technology, when they become bright enough in the dark of space, the Hollow notices them, and it consumes them." She opened her eyes. "It moves in cycles. Every 1,000 years, it wakes and feeds. It takes everything. Every person, every ship, every world. It leaves nothing but empty ruins and silence." One of the officials stepped forward. "This is impossible. We would have detected such an entity." "You cannot detect what exists outside your dimension," Serena said. "The Hollow only enters this reality when it feeds. And when it does, it is already too late." "Why should we believe you?" another official demanded. "Because I preserved myself for 990 years to deliver this warning." Serena's voice cracked with emotion. "I watched my family die. I watched my world burn. I turned myself to crystal at the last moment, hoping that someday someone would come who could wake me. Someone who could hear the truth." She looked at Danny. "My people calculated that the right species would eventually evolve. We seeded many worlds with genetic material that might produce the necessary bioelectric frequency. Only one world succeeded. Earth. Humanity." Danny felt dizzy. "You are saying that humans were created to wake you up?" "Not created. Guided. Your evolution was nudged in certain directions. But everything else, your history, your culture, your nature, that is all your own." She smiled gently. "And it is beautiful. I have watched you, Danny. Humans are remarkable. You love so fiercely. You hope so stubbornly. That is why I chose you." One of the scientists spoke up. "You said there is not much time. What does that mean?" Serena's expression darkened. "The Hollow cycle is almost complete. It will wake soon, and it has already marked its next targets." She paused. "Humanity is on the list." The room exploded with shouting. Officials argued. Scientists demanded proof. Guards looked nervously at each other. Danny walked to the glass wall and placed his hand against it. "What can we do?" he asked quietly. Serena placed her crystal hand against the glass on her side. Through the barrier, Danny could feel faint warmth. "My people developed a weapon. A way to collapse the Hollow's dimensional anchors and banish it forever. We finished it too late to save ourselves. But the design is preserved here." She touched her chest. "Inside me." "Then give it to us," Danny said. "Let us build it." Serena's eyes filled with golden tears. "Transferring the design will destroy what remains of my consciousness. I have just enough energy left to pass on the knowledge. After that, I will be truly gone." Danny's heart broke. "No, there has to be another way. I have had 990 years to think about this, Danny. There is no other way." She smiled through her tears. "But I am not sad. I have waited so long to give this gift. I have waited so long to matter again. The chief scientist stepped forward. We need time to discuss this. We need to verify your claims. There is no time, Serena said. Look at your long-range sensors. Look at the edge of the galaxy. The hollow is already stirring. An assistant ran to a computer. His face went pale. She is right, he whispered. There is an anomaly. Something we have never seen before. And it is growing. The room fell silent. Danny kept his hand pressed against the glass. On the other side, Serena kept hers pressed against his. I believe you, Danny said. I do not care if they believe you. I do, Serena smiled. I know. That is why I chose you. The officials began arguing again. But Danny was not listening. He was thinking about how to save a princess who had waited 1,000 years for someone to care. A human kissed a 990-year-old alien princess statue. She smiled and whispered a secret back part 5. The galaxy had never worked together like this before. Human engineers stood beside Morvani scientists. Dravaki soldiers shared meals with Silurian builders. Species that had been enemies for centuries now labored side by side, building the weapon that would save them all. At the center of everything was Serena. She transferred her knowledge slowly, carefully. Each piece of data cost her strength. Each schematic made her crystal form grow dimmer. But she never complained. She never stopped. Danny stayed with her every moment he could. When she was too weak to speak, he read to her from human books he had brought from Earth. Poetry, stories, songs. Your species creates such beautiful things, she said one night, her voice barely a whisper. So much love in your words. We have a lot of practice with loss, Danny replied. We learn to say what matters before it is too late. Serena reached through the gap in her containment glass. The scientists had removed it weeks ago, once they realized she was not a threat. Her crystal fingers touched Danny's face. You have taught me something, she said. I thought I preserved myself to deliver a warning. But now I think I was waiting for something more. I was waiting to feel what it means to be cared for again. Danny held her hand. It was cold now. Her warmth was almost gone. I am not going to let you die, he said. Some things cannot be stopped, Danny. But some things can be remembered forever. She smiled. That is enough. The weapon was completed on a Tuesday by Earth calendar. It was a massive device, built in orbit around the Lantos. It looked like a crystal flower, its petals spreading wide across space. The Volanti had designed it to disrupt the dimensional barriers that allowed the hollow to exist. But there was a problem. The weapon needed a living consciousness to guide it. Someone had to merge with the device and direct its energy at the exact right moment. Without that guidance, the weapon was just dead crystal. Danny volunteered immediately. No, Serena said. Her voice was firm even though her form was fading. I will not allow it. I am the reason you are awake, Danny argued. Let me be the reason this works. You are needed here, Danny. Humanity needs you. The galaxy needs people who can love the way you love. That cannot be wasted. Then who? Danny demanded. Who else has the right energy signature? Who else can merge with Volanti crystal? Serena was silent. They both knew the answer. The hollow arrived 3 days later. It came from the darkness between stars. A shadow bigger than worlds. A hunger older than time. Ships that flew too close to it simply vanished, pulled into a dimension of emptiness. The Allied fleet opened fire with everything they had. Missiles, energy beams, nuclear weapons. Nothing worked. The hollow swallowed every attack and kept coming. Serena stood at the center of the weapon. She had transferred herself into the crystal core hours ago. Her body was gone. Only her light remained. Danny stood on the command ship, watching through a screen. Serena, he called through the communication link. Please, let me come there. Let me help somehow. You already helped. A voice echoed through the speakers. You helped the moment you saw a sad statue and felt compassion. You helped when you kissed a stranger across 1,000 years of silence. That is the power that woke me, Danny. That is the power that will save everyone. I do not want to lose you. You will never lose me. Love does not end when bodies end. I am in your memory now. I am in your heart. That is where I will stay. The hollow roared. The sound shook ships across the fleet. It was preparing to feed. Serena's light grew brighter. Goodbye, Danny Carter of Earth. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. She became a burst of golden fire. The energy exploded outward, flowing through the weapon's petals. It struck the hollow like a spear of pure light. The creature screamed in frequencies that shattered windows across 100 ships. Its shadow form ripped and tore. Pieces of it fell into dimensions beyond sight. For one eternal moment, the hollow fought back. It tried to hold on to reality. It tried to consume the light, but Serena was stronger. She was 990 years of waiting. She was the memory of a dead civilization. She was the love of a human who had seen her when no one else did. The hollow collapsed. It folded in on itself again and again, smaller and smaller, until it was nothing, gone, banished to dimensions from which it could never return. The golden light faded. The galaxy was silent. Danny floated alone in the observation room of the command ship. Tears streamed down his face. On his palms something glowed. He looked down. A small crystal sat in his hand. It was warm. It pulsed with a gentle blue light. Serena's voice whispered one last time, "Remember us. Remember that love can cross any distance, any time. That is the secret I gave you, Danny. Share it." Danny closed his fingers around the crystal. "I will," he promised. "I will." 5 years later, the Serena Institute stood on Velantaos. It was a place of learning and memory. Scientists from every species came to study the Volanti knowledge Serena had left behind. Students learned about civilizations that had died and civilizations that had survived. And at the entrance, a statue stood. It was not the original crystal figure Danny had found in the hidden room. That was gone, merged with the weapon that saved everything. Instead, this was a new statue, carved by human hands, showing Serena as Danny remembered her, smiling, reaching out. Full of hope, Danny ran the institute now. He was older. His hair had some gray, but his eyes were still warm. Every morning, he stopped at the statue and touched its hand. "Good morning," he would say. "I am still here. I'm still sharing your secret." And in his pocket, the small crystal would pulse with light. Humanity was no longer ignored in the galaxy. They were known as the species that had listened. The species that had loved a stranger enough to help her save everything. The species that had turned a kiss into salvation. And Danny Carter, the cleaning worker who had changed history, smiled every time he thought about a princess who had waited 1,000 years for someone to see her. She had found him, and he would never forget her. The end. A human kissed a 990-year-old alien princess statue. She smiled and whispered a secret back part. 4. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Leaders from 100 species gathered in the Great Hall on Volantos. Their ships filled the sky above the museum moon. Their voices filled the chamber with argument and fear. Danny stood in the center of the hall. He was just a cleaning worker, a human from a small planet on the edge of explored space. But somehow, he had become the voice of the princess who slept in crystal. Ambassador Crix of the Morvani rose from his seat. He was a large creature with thick blue skin and small, cruel eyes. "This is foolishness," he declared. "We are supposed to believe that an ancient princess has woken up to warn us about a monster from another dimension. This is clearly a trick. The human has somehow activated old Volanti technology and is using it to deceive us. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. I say we contain both the statue and the human, Crix continued. Study them. Extract whatever technology is at work here. The Volanthi had secrets worth knowing. This is our chance to learn them. Danny felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Princess Serena is not a resource to be extracted. She is a person. She preserved herself for nearly 1,000 years to bring us a warning. She deserves our respect, not our suspicion. Crix laughed. Respect? For a piece of crystal? For a civilization that was too weak to survive? If the Volanthi were so advanced, why did they fall? Perhaps they simply failed, and this princess is trying to blame her people's weakness on an imaginary monster. She is not lying, Danny said firmly. I have spoken with her. I have seen her memories through the dreams she shared with me. The hollow is real, and it is coming. Dreams, Crix sneered. The human bases his claims on dreams. This council deals in evidence, not fantasy. A voice spoke from the back of the hall. Then perhaps you should listen to evidence. Everyone turned. An old Silurian scientist walked forward. Her scales were gray with age, and she moved slowly. But her eyes were sharp. My people have a legend, she said. We call it the Great Silence. 12,000 years ago, there was a civilization in our region of space. The Karath. They were advanced beyond imagination. Then one day, they were gone. No war, no disease. Just silence. She looked at Crix. Our ancestors found one survivor. A Karath who had turned his body to crystal. He spoke of an entity that came from darkness and consumed everything. Our ancestors did not believe him. They thought he was mad. He crumbled to dust before he could share more. The hall went quiet. Another voice spoke up. A Dravaki general with scars across his face. My people call it the empty time. 15,000 years ago, 5 civilizations in our sector vanished in a single decade. We found their cities intact, but every living thing was gone. Taken. Our soldiers searched for enemies, but there were none. Only emptiness. More and more species began sharing their stories. Old legends. Forgotten histories. Tales of civilizations that had simply disappeared. The evidence was overwhelming. Danny looked at the council. The hollow is real. It has fed on the galaxy for thousands of years. And now it is waking again. Serena has the knowledge to stop it. But she needs our help to use it. Ambassador Crix was silent. His cruel eyes studied Danny with new uncertainty. Finally, the head of the council, an ancient being called the Prime, rose to speak. The evidence suggests that this threat may be real. We cannot ignore it. But we also cannot trust blindly. She looked at Danny. Human, you have shown courage by speaking here today. Your species is young, but you have earned my attention. She turned to the assembly. I propose that we work with Princess Serena. We will help her transfer her knowledge. We will build whatever weapon she describes. And we will face this hollow together. The vote was not unanimous. Crix and his allies opposed it. But the majority agreed. Danny felt relief wash through him. But it was Short, Liv. And Aid rushed into the hall, his face pale with fear. The anomaly at the galaxy's edge, he gasped. It has grown. Our scientists say the hollow will reach the core worlds in less than 1 standard year. Gasps and cries filled the hall. Danny thought about Serena, alone in her classroom. He thought about the sacrifice she was prepared to make. Then we need to start now, he said. Every hour matters. Every minute. Take me back to her. Let me tell her the council has agreed. The Prime nodded. Go, and tell her that she will not face this alone. Danny ran through the halls, faster than he had ever run. He burst into the research room where Serena waited. They believed you, he said, breathless. They are going to help. All of them. Serena's crystal face lit up with hope. Then there is a chance, she whispered. For the first time in 990 years, there is truly a chance. Danny pressed his hand against the glass. We are going to save everyone, he promised. And I'm going to find a way to save you too. Serena smiled sadly. Just focus on stopping the hollow, Danny. I have already been saved. You saved me the moment you chose to see me as a person instead of a relic. Danny shook his head. That is not enough for me. I will find another way. I promise. Outside the window, ships from 100 worlds gathered in orbit. The galaxy was preparing for war. And at the center of it all stood a human who refused to give up on anyone.